That's right, I have to take photos apparently. Be careful with it.
Hey up. I know what this is. It's oh my god! No! Oh my!
You can probably rip it from that bit there.
Oh my god! Oh look! Oh, that is just fabulous. Oh wow! Oh wow! How did this happen? Did you go and see them?
Yeah.
Oh grief! Oh no, that is awesome. To yet another build video, and no, you're not seeing things, we are doing another TARDIS video, and in fact it's a little bit different from last time. We're doing a 1970s Brachacki box. That is how you pronounce it, by the way. How do I know? Well, because when I was at school, my teacher for 3 years was one Peter Brachacki, spelled exactly the same way as the guy who designed this original TARDIS prop. So it's not Brachacki or anything like that, it's Brachacki. Anyway, so, rather than repeat myself, I'm going to refer you all back to the 8th Doctor video that I did, the 8th Doctor TARDIS video, and you can see exactly how I did it, because the build is going to be predominantly the same. We're going to be using bits of plastic, shove them all together and produce a TARDIS toy at the end of it. The only difference here is the external design is different, and there are 4 of them, as you can plainly see. 3 are spoken for. This one down here will eventually become a moulding tool for me to cast up static versions where there's no doors and no lights. So what have we got on this table? Well, we've got the laser cutting parts. The reason I went for laser cutting is purely because there is so much of this stuff to be done, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to get this done quickly and efficiently. So the laser cutting has a pro in that it's done quickly and it saves me a lot of time and effort. The other problem with this sort of model is the scale of these windows. They are very, very thin and small and fragile. Hand making those will be a devil's own job. I'll be surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised if I was still here in 2020 making those window frames. So that's another pro for laser cutting. There is a couple of cons for it. The first being the price. Now, I don't have a laser cutter myself, so I've got to rely on an external source to do it for me. So for that and that cost me, believe it or not, £360. I say £360. When I was quoted that, I did have a bit of a bitch and a moan. We got it down by a few pounds, so let's just say £360 for that. So that's already put up my price, so that's a massive drawback to outsourcing laser cutting. The other issue that I have with laser cutting is the people who you get to do the actual job yourself. Now, I've got some drawings here that were done, and they were done perfectly, exactly to the design and spec that I wanted. A friend of mine over in Australia, a guy called Jared, did this for me, very kindly. Now, those are accurate drawings. What's cut, however, isn't quite so accurate. It's not drastically out of proportion or anything like that. It's just that the cut line is ever so slightly off, only by 1/4 of a millimetre, say 1/4 of a millimetre on this side and this side. That adds up to 1/2 a millimetre. So, had I gone to a different company, one who actually knew what they were doing when it comes to cut lines and what have you, I knew damn well that you can allow for this. So unfortunately the company I went to, they didn't seem to know that, so there's no distinction between an inside cut and an outside cut. Everything's just cut on the same setting. So that's a bit of a bummer, but it's not a huge issue and I can accommodate it as I build the rest of it. So then we've got all this stuff down here. These are EMA strip details, and those will be the detailing for things like the steps that go under here, the centre door divider. This bit here is going to be the core to the corner posts, and then on top of that various bits of cladding will be done. I've got some material over here. This will become the roof and the base and the external cladding to my corner posts. I've also got things like this which will be part of the lamp. But the other drawback with using this material is, again, the price. This is turning out to be quite a pricey little project. This and this over here, very nearly £200, £195 to be precise. That included packaging and delivery, but still that's a lot of wonga for what is not very much, what appears to be not very much. So anyway, I've got to put all of this together and make 4 TARDISes, 3 completed and 1 almost complete, ready for moulding. So I think I'm going to crack on with this, and we'll cut back every now and again, and I'll probably tell you where I've got up to and how I've done it. So for now, I really have to start getting the tools out and getting on with it. Right then, just like before, the first thing we're going to tackle are the walls, and in this case they are laser cut, but they are going together just like they did before. So there is a completed wall, but it is made up of 2 plates. A back plate with the window frames in, and then a front plate that sits on top of it. Now, the first thing I need to do, really, is to peel this protective blue backing off, and it can be a bit of a bear, but in this instance it's coming off quite well. So this is the front plate with all the detail, so this will produce your window frames and whatnot. I think that's everything off. Take these off. I'm going to be keeping these bits, so put that safely over there. And now I'm going to take the backing off. Let's see if I can get that off. Yep, look at that. Perfect. So that's lovely. And do the same with this one. So all the window frames off. And the other one. And it's the same with the backing. Now, that goes on there, but however, there is one little extra step before this can be put together. I do need to sand the edges off because the laser cutting does produce a bit of a burr, so I just need to go round it and just take those burrs off. So doing this does rough up the surface quite a bit. Not too much, we're not gouging it, but it does give the surface a little bit of a key, so when I come to use this glue in between these two, there's something more for the stuff to grab to. However, there is a little knock-on effect that if you scratch or sand any plastic, especially a clear plastic, and then use an adhesive like this, what it does tend to do is cause little cracks. It does look ugly, but it doesn't matter because they're not actual proper cracks. As soon as they crack, they bond back together again, so we can completely discard that and not worry about it. Right, for this step I'm going to solve and weld the 2 plates together. And for that, it's just a matter of putting this glue on relatively liberally. Don't want to go overboard. Just at least get it on there. Alright, Now the 1, 2, 3 blocks here are going to help me align everything just right. Press down, just to smush that glue around. The grunting is necessary. Just want to try and get rid of as many of the air bubbles as I possibly can. I can go around and glue afterwards, but let's now concentrate on getting these two aligned. Squish, squish, and squish. Just going to flip it over in a second, but first just want to take a brush and go around and see if I can get some of the squeeze out, because I don't want that. Not that it makes much difference, because this thing is going to be textured at the end anyway, but it's nice just to get rid of some of this. So, alright, I'm just checking here for the window alignment here, and yeah, there's a little bit of squeeze out in there, so I've got to take that out now, because that will affect the window frames later. Again, I don't have to be too neat. In fact, I can take some of the other glue here. I say glue. If I say glue, I mean solvent weld. And I can just run that through, and that will pick up some of the spots where the other adhesive didn't get into the cracks. I can be relatively liberal with this. But that seems to be perfectly aligned. My next step now is to start cutting this stuff up into little strips about that big, and they become the core to the corner post, and everything else gets clad around them. So that is what I'm going to be doing next. That goes in there. That goes tight up against that. Tight up against there, and that goes in there. Line this up with there. That looks good. So here we have the 4 corner posts, and you'll notice that they are all slightly different. You have 3 here with a common core at the centre, and then 1 here with a custom-made core. Now all of these are pretty much individual designs. You'll see that the quadrants on this side isn't here, but it is there. You have 2 quadrants here, and only 1 quadrant on this side, and the same with this one. It is this asymmetry that causes the geometry of the full-size prop, and indeed this model, to come out of true. It will no longer be properly square. So what actually happens, especially because of this and this one I believe, no, that one, it causes the left-hand wall to skew in slightly, causing the box to be trapezoidal. So on a full-size prop that's quite easy to do. On a model, that's going to be a bit testing, because it means me having to try and jury-rig something up, so when I come to glue it, it doesn't want to wander and fall apart. I may even have to brace all at the back of this, but we'll come to that when we get to that stage. But for now, it's all done. So now I just stand around and hold this together. Now I've got all 4 of these boxes built, you can see how the relation of the different types of corner post affect the geometry of each box. On this side it's pretty much right angles, same on all of them, but on this side and this side and this side and this side, it's all cocked very slightly in, and that is purely because out of all of the corner posts, this one, this one, this one and this one are very slightly more narrow than the opposing one on the other side. So because it's narrower, it's wider at the front than it is at the back, and so the whole lot just goes... That's a technical term, by the way. So there you are. You learn something new every day. But there we are. Boxes are done. I feel a bit more relaxed now about it. All I've got to do now is decide, what do I do next? Do I add on all the wall detailing? You can see I've already added some here. I did that before I put all these together. But I've got all the steps here and the centre door divider to go on and the sign box. Do I do the roofs next, or do I do the bases? I don't know. Let's cut to the next sequence and see what I decided to do. Okay, so the base is now completely constructed, and if I flip it over you can see what I've done here. We've got our long pieces and then our short pieces, they've just been put in. Now with a short piece the end grain is hidden because it's butted up to the long piece. So the next thing I have to do is cut or trim down these overlong sections. Now why have I done that? Well, very simply, it's so that we can blend that end in with this end, and all I need to do is take my razor saw, place it up against this trailing edge, like so, and that trailing edge actually informs the cut. So as I cut that way, the blade itself will be travelling along this, and it gives us a perfectly square and true cut, which I can then do a little bit of tidying with a bit of sandpaper. So for now I'm going to take my incredibly blunt razor saw, which does need a new blade, and I shall put it up against here and cut. And as you can see, it's produced a very nice flush cut all along this trailing edge here. So now that's completed. If you want to see how the models went from this to this, then please check out my full and in-depth video dedicated to this precise subject. In it you will see blow by blow how exactly I textured, painted and weathered the very TARDISes that you've seen me build so far. The link which looks like this can be found in the on-screen cards at the end of this video. I'm glad that you could join me today, and hopefully you can take something away from this to help in your own build projects, and most importantly, thanks for watching.